Today, we are going to get into the collective energy and how all of you may be feeling when you wake up in the morning throughout the day, what that means, and kind of what that's predicting for the next couple of weeks. So, we are in October.
Yep.
This will probably launch right after the US elections. And when you're watching this, it might give you clarity on what you've been feeling for the last 3 weeks, 3 months, right? Next year, actually. So how have you been feeling, Kristina?
The term dumpster fire was used earlier.
That's what, yeah, that might be the name of this podcast.
Yeah, I think that should be the name of this.
Right.
Yeah, all over the place. One day I feel good, or one moment I feel good, even not even the day itself. 1 second I feel good, the next second I'm crying, the next second I need to lay down, the next second I want bread, and then I want to just, laugh and cry and be silly. And then I remind myself that I need to go outside and just take a hot second.
Right. So I do feel for all of you that aren't understanding. We're going to get into the math of this, right? So from my perspective, you're an energetic being, right? You can sense and feel all the energy that is around you. So right now I'm exchanging energy with Kristina, and actually we are exchanging energy, sending energy to you as you watch this. So when you watch shows, when you watch people on their YouTube channels, if you enjoy it and it brings you to a heightened state, that's a high vibration. If you come out of it with anxiety, you're uneasy about it, that's a lower vibration, right? So our aim is to kind of give you a higher vibration. That's what we're emitting. So when we are sleeping, we are susceptible to energies because we are not keeping our walls up. And I think we were going to talk about having
I was just going to ask
Energetics 101 episode.
I do think that's important to kind of like talk through also is like, how do you, we talked about boundaries and setting some of those like cutting cords, boundaries and the energy pieces. And I think it's important that like how folks can actually take that information, but also learn how to do it for themselves. Because I don't think everybody like they're hearing us and they're like, oh, okay, I kind of get that. Or they're like, we don't know how to do that ourselves. And I think it would be fun to kind of be able to share how you kind of recommend doing that. Because I think you have a really good way of explaining how you do that. And then I can poke holes and be the person who's like, nah, that doesn't make sense. Can you what does that really mean?
Okay. Right now.
Right.
Do it now. Actually, that I feel will be great because when this launches, y'all are going to be...
You're going to need this.
You're going to need this. So that makes sense. This is
right.
a very intuitive conversation. Okay. So let's talk about Energetics 101. You are an energetic field, right? You have an energetic bubble around you. And when you take on other people's energies or when you feel other energetic frequencies, it can be microwave, it can be 5G. Your phone, legit, 5G is not great for your body and you can sense it. That's why you're never supposed to have it on you. We're probably getting canceled by just for saying that.
I don't know what she's talking about, just so you know.
But then there's like, you're that you walk into a room and you can feel the vibe. That's you picking up on an energetic frequency.
Yeah, and I want you to pause on that because I do think that that's important to like think back of a time that you walked into a space, either work or the kitchen of your family or the restaurant, like wherever,
event,
and being aware of like, how does that make you feel inside? And if you haven't done that, maybe practice that and start taking advantage of like recognizing that you each have your own little bubbles. Everybody has their own bubble, and how you interact with each other will help expand or kind of close up that bubble even.
Yeah, which you can. So let's talk about that bubble that we have. And I am not woo-woo, psychic, dangerous person that I can sense all of these things around me. It is science. My skin the sensories on my physical form are just more sensitive and can sense the electrical current in the air, the electrical frequency that you have coming off your body, then, there's a different level to it, but we'll start there because I feel that that's fair. So this isn't woo woo. This is just like my skin, like my physical form is sensing your physical form. Animals do it all the time.
Right.
Right. That's why the hair on the back of a dog or cat goes up, or wild animals, like they sense the other animal.
It's nature.
It's nature. Right. So going back to the energies, after the US elections, there is going to be a lot of energy flowing around no matter what happens. And it's going to be imperative that you are able to separate yourself from the low vibration and the high vibration, right? So staying even neutral. Neutral's great too. And by neutral, that's not bypassing, ignoring and avoiding. That is being at a safe place in your sovereignty and knowing that you are grounded and can make your own decisions about how you feel. Because your thoughts and your feelings and your words are vibrations that you're putting out there. So if you're talking about fear with all of your friends, or what's going to happen, or this isn't right, now you've created that vibrational frequency. And that's not a fun place to be.
Right.
And you can always change the vibration of conversation, I feel, to have it a positive.
Yeah, because again, it's you choosing the words and your feelings and your emotions come out in the way you speak and what you're vibing.
Right.
It's that ripple effect.
Yeah.
That is like one of my favorite things to always bring back. I think about that ripple effect. You throw that little stone in the pond and how it affects everybody. And you can either choose to be that Jerko pebble and it's going to affect people in a Jerko way, or you emit that love and that positivity.
Right. And again,
you're neutral.
Yeah. I'm not going to participate in this fear conversation.
Right.
And that can be anything. That can be, paying bills, getting out of a relationship. It's just fear. It's fear of the unknown. It's scarcity mindset. And you can just put it on any kind of category or conversation. You can look at a divorce and some people can see it as something very negative. And other people, I usually say to people that come into
congratulations,
right? Because it's an opportunity to grow. And most of them are like, oh yeah, we're having a party.
Right. Well, because they're realizing that it's not a healthy space for them anymore. Right. And it's because there's too much negative stuff going around them. And they're like, I don't want to partake in this anymore.
Right. And I think it's participation. And it's, it's going to be really interesting once you're watching this, how strongly, when you're listening to this, how strongly, and if you can understand the voice that you have about your opinions about what just happened are actually yours.
I like that.
And are there any beliefs of what you're believing and you're kind of raging out about? Do you actually believe? And could you think differently about them?
This is part of just, I feel like almost life 101 lessons of like taking a pause before, like think before you speak kind of thing.
Right. The awareness. Yep. But not everybody can do that. So you are programmed, not your fault. We are so programmed to react, to have these immediate responses to everything in our lives. And it takes practice to stop.
100%.
Do I want to behave like this? How am I going to react to this person? I'm at the food store and someone's coming at me with politics. What am I doing? First of all, you attracted that. Sorry. Spoiler alert. That's on you. And B, what's your learning lesson, your opportunity from this?
Yeah.
I have people that are like, oh, I don't trust anybody. I have people that take advantage of me. I have this in my life. And then they say stuff to me. I go, I don't have any. My life is full of people that are the vibration that I give out. It's true love and abundance. And if something does happen, the way that I react to it is very, like, if someone came at me with politics, I'm more like, oh, what? How do you think about, what made you think of it that way? Or never thought of it that way. And I wonder what your childhood was like and your family upbringing and your culture that makes you believe that. And that's your belief, and that's cool. But I also am in my sovereignty and in grounded in what I know from my heart is right and wrong.
Yeah.
And it's always from love. So I feel like maybe that's triggering to some people. I don't know.
But it's practice. I think it goes back to like these things take time, and it takes practice and awareness, and just being aware. And again, I think taking that step back and just pausing before reacting.
Right.
And it's so hard.
It is
so hard.
Because what's happening in the collective is that
everybody's reacting so quickly.
Well, because guess what? It causes separation. So what this election is huge separation, right? So your stance, their stance, creates such separation. And guess what? When you're separated, you're not united, and you are less powerful. So if you, right?
Yes.
Doesn't mean you have to agree with someone else's political views. Does not mean you have to agree with people's like health views or relationship views. It just means that you have compassion and empathy, and you can see it from a different perspective. With love, like, I respect you because now we're separated.
Right. And I always feel like I have to take one side or the other. And there's certain areas that I'm like, I don't want to go one side or the other, because I want to sit in my own space and just kind of have my own, and not even necessarily thoughts at times. Like I'm thinking specifically politics. I don't want to play that game. I want to sit back and, okay, like, sure, I understand that side. I understand that side, but I also have my side. And what does that mean? And not even like politics, like they can go into a relationship. Oh, you're saying this about this situation, but if you think about it from a different direction, and or not only the other person's direction, maybe it's from an outsider's perspective too, that we all have our own, and each individual has their own perspective on things too, which adds a whole other level of dumpster fires.
Right. I had, back in the day, I was friends with one friend first, and then she connected me with this other friend, and we became really good friends, right?
Yep.
And then I started getting invited to that friend's social events, and the first original friend was and got on me about it. And I was like, listen, I'm sorry that you weren't invited to this event, but I was, and I'm really good friends with this person. And and she was like, you're taking her side. And I'm like, I just was invited to the beach and I'm going. Like, I don't know.
I just want to sit on the sand.
There's going to be stuff. They serve cupcakes. I'm there. And she was really adamant about, like, I'm picking her side and, guilt, shame, all the things. And I was like, oh, no, babe, we don't do that.
Because essentially it's not about you. It's about that individual who's starting to feel that stress and feel that emotion around that, because it's a learning thing. You bring in, you want your friends to be friends with others. But we also know that sometimes friendships end, and that's okay too. And I think that goes back to you deleting people from your phone and contacts from your phone, which is amazing, because it really, it's hard. It's hard to do that, even of remembering, like, it's okay. Like, this is just your learning process of, like, okay, you were here in my life for this reason. My vibe is not, my energy field does not connect with your energy field. I don't feel good next to you anymore. And maybe not even feeling good. It's just like, it just doesn't feel right anymore. Or I've grown, or whatever the case might be, I feel.
Yeah. it's so weird when you get to this place and you're like, it was this weird, distant past that might have been a different TV series on a different channel. And you're like, oh, yeah, I kind of remember that. But on this channel, in this news TV series, does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
Like that.
I just switched the channel.
Yeah.
I'm a new character in a new show on a new channel and that's it. That person might still be in that old channel, and that's okay too. I know.
So we're watching Teddy in front of us. He's very cute. But yeah, so things that you'll probably be feeling are separation anxiety, dumpster fire, overwhelm. You'll want to retreat. You'll want to ignore and avoid. Two things that are happening right now: ignoring and avoid. Oh, what did I say? The people at the gym. This is how I figure it out. People at the gym, definitely less people at the gym because I think they can't be out socialize like in an energetic frequency. And it's what did I say? It was the Walking Dead zombie. No one has feelings. So everyone's really like dug into themselves and they can't have any awareness out here because it's too stimulating, it's too overwhelming because they don't understand that they can block that off. Or the other frequency is like surrender. So, which brings into that, we've been dumpster firing this week and notice, but we have awareness. I'm like, what is this? Is this me? Is this the collective? Is it, the bread I ate? Am I drinking good water? Did I move my body? Was I out in nature? Like you have to go through all your survival basic needs,
all your steps.
Have I slept, right? But I'm also Capricorn. So in astrology right now, Capricorn, Libra, Aries, Cancer, we are ending a 16-year cycle. What is it? Moon and Pluto or something. I'm sorry, the astrologers for me not knowing all of the details. But we're ending this 16-year cycle, which things have been coming up for me. And I'm like, why is this coming into my field? Why am I still having these? I'm having nightmares about the house I grew up in. Never did I ever. Like, it's so weird. Ugh. It's so weird. And I'm just at the tail end of processing some trauma, and it's just like coming up just to poke at me. And for the last couple of days, I'm like, nope, I am not participating. I'm choosing my new timeline. I create my own reality. And finally, last night in the middle of the night, I wake up and I said, you know what? I'm just going to surrender to this. I don't know what it means. I respect the process. I like hugged myself in my sleep and in my mind's eye and was like, I'm going to go with it. I don't need to know what this is about. I don't need to control it. And I'm just going to surrender to it. And it was such a different vibration than like fighting and resisting it. I was like, oh, this is what surrender is. And I'm like, I'm just going to wait for the moon to switch. So.
Can we talk about surrendering a little bit more? Because I think that I like that word, and it's I think it's something that's hard. I know I struggle with the idea of like letting it go and surrendering to whatever is supposed to happen sometimes. I think that's kind of a good little lesson for, again, another practice thing that folks could kind of try to take. And like, what do you think would be like some steps to kind of like actually surrender to what's going on? Like, how do you do that? How do you get yourself out of the dumpster fire and sit back and just be like, oh, okay. Right.
30 years of therapy.
All right. Yeah. I mean, for real.
Well,
kind of.
And, when I say therapy, that means self-growth, like self-help, meditation, all of, yoga practice. I mean, I've done all the things, right? Shamanic work. I think my actual total years of being in therapy with a licensed therapist, maybe 5, but that I was curious about it, right?
Yep.
And not shaming any therapist. I think it's great. It's just you follow your journey, right? So let's talk about surrender. And I would ask, what does it feel like in your body when I just said surrender? Because I think weakness comes up.
I feel like throwing up.
Yeah. Why though? Like it's a weakness.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Because if you surrender,
it feels gross.
The other thing I think about surrender is it's not giving up. They talk about that a lot in the spiritual world, is that surrender doesn't mean you just give it up. Like, I have this desire, I want this thing, I think it's going to be this way, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. It doesn't mean you're just like, oh, okay, I'm surrendering that I'm going to get this job or this car that I want or this relationship, right?
It's not that you're not working.
Right.
You have to still put in the effort to do.
Right.
Right? Is that what you're saying, I think?
Yeah.
Yeah, you still have to take
on your couch.
Right.
Basic, the law of attraction / The Secret, and be like, I envision myself in a Ferrari. It's like, no, there's like,
what are the steps that you still need to do? Yeah, you need to do something to get to that point still.
If I was to explain or describe surrender, I think for what I do for myself is I have a desire. I can also have like an outcome, but I trust that the universe is going to guide me in the orchestration of it.
I like that.
So like, okay, for example,
I like those words though, like the orchestration of.
Yes. So like you have a limited 3-dimensional brain that is programmed of, you have this plan and this is your plan B. And if this doesn't work out, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
The universe can see, I believe, everything. And you're just limiting yourself in this 3-dimensional program. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So when I built my retail shop, I legit was divinely guided. I literally asked the universe, I was like, hey, just tell me what to do. I'll do it. And within 10 minutes, I got a phone call. And the person on the other end of the line said, you need to build this. You need to do this. We just came from this place. You need to do this. I said, that was fast. Building, this may trigger a lot of entrepreneurs. Building that business was the easiest thing I have ever done in my entire life. It was smooth. It was fun. It was creative. I had a blast doing it. And now I'm almost 2 years in being open. And it's the same thing. People show up. I ask for something, they show up.
Yeah.
I asked my spirit guides, I said, hey, I need, who could I have, like help me out? Call this person. And so that is me surrendering. That's what it means. Surrendering. I had this vision. I had a Pinterest board. I knew like the vibe I wanted. But then those people came to me, or like we went shopping for furniture, or I trusted my contractor. I mean, I was every day calling.
Yeah.
I basically GC'd that entire project and it was awesome. But I was on with the plumber. I was on with the electrician. I was on with the HVAC, talking to the town. Easiest thing I've ever done in my entire life. But because I was like, oop, this, sprinkler person is for me. The property manager was phenomenal. Even finding the space.
Yeah. Because
I didn't overthink it and wasn't like fighting.
Yeah.
This podcast.
Yeah.
Kristina's still trying to like, hold on. And I'm like, hold on, let me meditate and ask the universe what the podcast name is. Oop, this is what it is. And I changed all of the social media. That's surrendering. Instead of freaking out. And we didn't have it for months. We didn't know what the name of this podcast was going to be.
We didn't know how it was going to work out. Like nothing. We were playing, but I do think it's important to note that it wasn't that you just asked and then the name came to you. We did a lot of work.
Yeah.
Like we did 2-3 weeks of just throwing words, asking the robots like what we should be doing,
right?
What it should be, what are some of the names, what are some of those taglines and all those things. Like we just to get words moving through and like trying to figure out what it could be.
Right.
And then it was just like, all right, whatever, it's gonna just happen. We'll figure it out.
Right. That was full surrender.
Yeah.
We didn't freak out.
I will say that I really, that was tough for me because I was like, I don't know how we're recording these things and how we're doing these things without actually having a name. And the more I started thinking about it, I'm like, well, we don't really need a name because it's not about the name. It's not 100% about the name because it's really about you and I having these conversations with you all and being able to share our knowledge, our little life stories and thoughts and concepts and what you can all do to help yourselves also, right? And it was just one of those things. I remember there was a point where I'm like, I don't know, this is the name. This is what I'm gonna do. And then you're like, man, I'm gonna just keep playing. I'm like, okay. And I totally just was like, I'm not gonna, like, it'll either come or it doesn't, and it doesn't matter because we're just gonna continue doing what we need to be doing.
Right.
To get to that point.
Right.
And then it eventually just came.
It was the easy.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
Just like showed up and I was like, oh, okay. And then we had no resistance to it.
No. I was like, yeah, that feels good.
Sounds about right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it fits us. Again, it fits us too.
Right. So like resistance, okay, like, you know, I always like when people use this in an example. Okay. Surrendering to a job, right? Getting this next job. Okay. How would I explain this? This is like there's multiple ways that you can do this. You can picture yourself in that job. You can see what the feeling of it is, visualization, right? But surrendering would be like the job that is meant for me will come to me like in perfect alignment, right? So there also is this big piece of you have to be really safe and secure in what you want and accept, because that is what you're putting out comes back.
Yeah.
So that me building the business I was in a really fun place.
Right.
And that's how it was created.
Right.
I was cranky pants and like stressed out. I mean, I applied for a loan from the bank and they didn't give it to me. And signed my lease. I was in it. And I called my mother and she said, well, would you have done this if you had known at the beginning that the bank wasn't going to give you the money? And I was like,
right.
Whoa. And I said, yeah, I would have figured it out. She's like, well, you're figuring it out now. And I did figured it out. I live in my sister's basement.
No, you don't. I don't. You're not chained to the radiator in the basement. This haunted house.
I figured it out. It all worked out. And it actually worked out in the best way possible because, and let's talk about this.
Yeah.
It started way before. It started when I was like, I'm selling the house.
Yeah.
And Kristina was like, you say this every year.
Yeah.
I sold the house.
Yeah.
But then that also created such a momentum for you, for my
100%.
family. I mean,
yeah,
what my family did, like that was huge. And I had to have done those things to do that.
Right. Right.
For us to all have what we
Right.
Right.
Right. He's right behind you. You can see his butt or his head.
Yelling up on his head because this is the only way he'll let me. See, he knew. Talk about energy frequency. That dog knows when you're trying. Oh,
he's just he's guarding us.
Love him. He's like, get off me.
Well,
it's weird because it's like all love.
So, just being aware of the time and where we're at, kind of think of what are some of these. I want to share some of the thoughts of like what do we recommend our folks. I almost called you all the team, so we're just all the team for right now. Why not? Like, what are some of the takeaways, right? Recognizing that these few weeks, months, whatever that we've been going through are a dumpster fire. You're not the only one that's feeling this way. And what can you do to kind of sit back and just breathe for a second and think through how you want to react to things and how do you want to play the game that actually works perfectly with the team? Yeah. Like, how do you really want to play this game?
Yep.
Do you want to be all up in it and getting stressed and freaking out about things that you actually don't have to, and you also don't have any control over, really?
Yeah.
Because it's already figured out.
I would say lots is going to be happening, and you need to regulate your nervous system. So I think that's number one. And this isn't just for after the election. This is every day for yourself, for your health, for your family, for the people that are around you. You
100%.
have to take responsibility for your nervous system and how you show up in your life every single day. And I turn into like, you're responsible for yourself, babe. I don't know what to tell you. I get pretty sassafras about that one because it's all on you.
It's your life.
Full responsibility for how you behave and what you think and noticing people's reactions. And some people might not like your reaction.
We both went, okie dokie.
But the thing, I think what's really important is when you know that you're true to yourself and you come from a very heart-guided place, how can it not be right?
Yeah.
I mean, this could be like a whole nother episode of a few things, but let's get back to, I think that you should learn to regulate your emotions. And this is just like, they should teach kids this. We should be learning this all through our lives because no one knows how to listen to their body and regulate their feelings and emotions. So top things, are you sleeping enough? Are you drinking enough water? Are you getting good food? If you are eating high processed foods, you feel like crap and you don't even know it. Go off processed foods for 3 to 5 days, then go back on and you will totally understand what I'm saying. Like if you just ate clean for a week, drank good water and slept.
Yeah. Sleeping alone
makes you feel amazing. So then you can make decisions from a calmer place. You're not like firecracker ready.
Right. It'll be easier to take a pause.
Right. I would say the second thing that I do is move energy from my body. So that could be a sauna, just like getting in my body and kind of regulating. I love how I like close my eyes. Go to the gym, move my body, yoga,
take a walk
outside in nature without my phone. That's big. And just like listen to the trees. Oh my God, Theo Vaughn goes, do you think the wind, might not full quote, do you think the wind's trying to tell us something? And so like sometimes I'm like, I think it might be. And I try to listen to the wind and I'm like, what are you trying to tell me?
What are you saying?
And this is why no one speaks to me when I'm walking. And or why anyone tries to hurt me while I'm walking. Because they're like, that girl's crazy. I'm trying to listen to the wind. So those top two things. And then if you want to get to the next thing, I do believe a little bit of meditation is important. But by meditation, that can be 5 minutes of you just feeling your body and your mind, starting with your toes to the tip of your head, or you're, doing a body scan.
Yep.
Or just like digestive issues are rampant right now. I don't know if it's energy, like lower chakras or food, but sometimes I'll just go into that section, like my intestines, and just be like, hey, what's going on in there? You guys okay? Do we have parasites? What's going on? Hey, like you're getting into it, right?
Yeah.
Fighting wildness, fighting.
I know something just bit I know. Outdoors.
It's an outdoors themed podcast. And lastly, I would say this one's really cool. Just like gratitude. Maybe understanding that. I think what really gets me is like knowing that I'm this tiny, tiny grain of, like meat suit in this huge, gigantic universe that like we don't even know what's happening.
I actually did that last night. I'm going to just interrupt for a second because I was thinking about that. I took Teddy out. It was, I don't know, 2 a.m, his random like midnight calls. Went outside and just stood in the driveway while he was sniffing the world. And I just stood there and I looked up and I'm like, I am just a tiny little speck in all of this. And it was really, I was like, None of this matters.
Yeah. I believe this is a fun one that I like to play with. I believe we are all 8 billion fractals of one source, feeling, thinking, experiencing from a different perspective. So like
Yeah.
we are the same thing, even Teddy, and then we can get into like plants and like all those things. But that's really cool. So if you are,
Well, it's tying back the energy, right? So from what we started with is talking about how each of us have our own energy bubbles. That's really what that's about. You're talking about each individual, even though we're individuals, we have our own thoughts, feelings, so on and so forth. We're actually all one.
we're all one.
And we're all connected.
Yep. So no matter what happened this week, I'm assuming we're going to drop this right after election or the week after.
Sure.
No matter what happens, how can you love someone that's different than you, knowing that it is you?
Oh,
right.
Crazy. Wow.
Or like,
yeah, but that goes back to the gratitude thing too, is recognizing that each of us are different.
Yeah.
And being grateful for who you are and what you can bring to others, and knowing that that other person is doing, they're doing the same thing. Maybe not always that they realize that they're doing it, but what they also are here for a reason, and they're bringing something to you in that moment.
Yes. Like then we can talk another.
We'll do that
about
again.
mirroring. And,
yes.
Why we're just all opportunities for growth and expansion.
Yeah.
So then that energetic frequency that's what the whole point of like the collective consciousness is expanding.
I love that.
But yeah, so why am I going to judge myself? Why am I going to shame myself? Why am I going to think badly of myself? Because if I'm saying that about you, that's what I'm doing to myself, because you are me. Yeah. I'm going to wrap it up.
Be good to yourself and be good to others.
Yep. And
see ya. Bye.